Hey, what's going on there, people? My name is Matt and welcome to my travel blog. This week is my big fall break trip and I've got a lot of exciting stuff for you. We're going to be going to Amsterdam, then Geneva, and then Zurich in Switzerland. We're going to be trying something new just because I have so much footage. I was traveling for over a week, so I'm going to be breaking this up into 3 different parts.
Say that with a straight face. Alright, so good? Yeah, so not huge smokers, but you know, when in Rome, it's illegal in the States, so we don't do that stuff, but we're in Amsterdam, you know, gotta join the locals, embrace culture. We're just trying to get cultured.
As soon as we got into Amsterdam, first thing I noticed was just how crazy and hectic it was. Downtown you had a combination of cars, mopeds, bikes, and pedestrians, and they were everywhere. You could not cross the street without looking both ways. I feel like if you were wearing headphones in the city, eventually you'd just get cracked by a bike. We immediately just dropped off our stuff at the hostel and went on exploring. One of the first things we did was we went to a coffee shop called The Green Place and we got some space cakes. We must have walked around that night for at least 3 hours, walking around all over the downtown. We explored the red light district. I can't even really explain to you, it's just something that you have to go see. It was really fun doing that on the first day. However, it didn't take long for me to realize that the downtown was probably my least favorite part about Amsterdam. It's super touristy. The streets are just crowded with these overpriced bars and fast food places that are really kind of gross.
It was good. It was a long night. Very, very tired by the end of the night. It was fun, just wandered Amsterdam and found ourselves in some pretty cool places.
Another one of my favorite things about Amsterdam was just how nice the city itself was. The buildings all have a unique look to them and they're super nice and clean. They're a lot of times kind of crooked and it's just an extremely unique environment with the canals. I had never experienced a city like that and I honestly don't think there's another one like it in the world. The entire city was just very clean and wealthy. Our big mission of that day was to go to the Rijksmuseum. Now this is one of the top museums in the world. The building itself is one of the best in Amsterdam. It's a museum in itself just looking at it from the outside. You can walk through this corridor and just get a view of the lobby and it just looks amazing, extremely modern. The museum was full of priceless works of art dating back to 14th century, I believe. Some just really amazing works. They had Rembrandt, Van Gogh, all of these super well-known artists. If you are super into art history, this is definitely the place for you. And it definitely costed like one of the top museums in the world. It was actually 17 euros, which is pretty steep. However, you can literally spend your whole day in this museum. I think we got to the museum around 2 o'clock, and by the time it was closing, we had just barely seen over half of it. One of the really cool things I was reminded about was the Dutch East India Trading Company. For those of you who don't know, this is definitely something you're gonna wanna learn more about. It had a huge part in shaping Dutch culture. It was the largest company ever made in the history of mankind, and it's currently, I believe, around 8 times bigger than Apple is, which is the biggest company nowadays. And it's just ridiculous. You can see some of these paintings with these huge warships going into these huge battles and whatnot, and it really is awesome and quite epic.
Pancakes, there's a good pancake place apparently.
Later that night, we went and grabbed some food and met up with Armand, our other roommate. We went to the Damkring coffee shop, and this is another really cool place. It has a hippie theme, really laid back. The music there is excellent. It has a really cool vibe to it.
It was good, it was good.
Really nice vibes in general. Very relaxed.
Yeah, there's
mint tea was really good too.
There's Kitten there, Kitten chilling on the bar.
day we actually switched hostels, and this probably turned out to be my least favorite part about the trip. I'm a really budget traveler, and so we're gonna have to make some compromises and stay in hostels, but it was definitely not very nice. It was right on the edge of the red light district. It was crowded with tourists. Going back there every night and being in a room with 12 or so other travelers and having to be quiet really was exhausting. We actually linked up with our friends there, Nathan, Sam, and Ziggy, and that really added a lot to the trip just because we had a whole posse to go out and explore with now. As you can tell, that's kind of a theme. Just walking around cities and appreciating them is my favorite thing to do when I'm traveling to a new one. Went to the Museumplein, and this was a really nice park which has the I Amsterdam statue. It's surrounded by some of the best museums in the world and definitely was a really cool part of the city to check out. What do you think? From there we went to Vondelpark. Now I have a theory that you can really tell a lot about the cities based on their parks, and Vondelpark surely did not disappoint. It was extremely nice, and of course in Amsterdam there was tons of people riding their bikes around. Definitely something you don't want to miss out on if you're there.
Get this for your vlog.
That's the silver.
Sam gives it a yum out of yum.
Yeah, whatever.
After that we walked out and went into some of the more nice neighborhoods right outside Vondelpark, and that I think is where my favorite places in Amsterdam are. You really get to see what it's like to be a local there. No tourists out, it's just extremely nice streets with, you know, these picturesque like buildings everywhere. It definitely felt like a very livable place, unlike the city center. Out of all the cities I visited, I feel like for me personally Amsterdam seemed like the most livable and where I could see myself in the future.
So we just got done touring the Anne Frank Museum, and it was really powerful, for lack of a better word, but like cool to just like experience and see where they lived for 2 years in the back of Anne's father's workshop. Definitely worth doing if you ever come to Amsterdam.
I really wish I had read the book before I went. It's a really cool thing to check out if you have the time and the money, but if you miss it, you're not missing out on a whole ton. Be warned though that you have to buy tickets well in advance. We actually got the last 4 tickets for that entire weekend.
What should I do with my life?
The syrup waffles that they have in Amsterdam are absolutely amazing. You have to grab some of these. I know our friend Sam ate about 6 or so packs of them. They are addictive and very delicious.
Like maybe a little less, but like you'd rather have a little less.
We ended up going to the Museum of Contemporary Art, and this ended up being my favorite museum in the city. We had heard from other friends that the Van Gogh Museum was somewhat so-so, and I'm definitely glad that we chose that one over it. I've really gained an appreciation for art since I've come to Europe. I feel like a lot of people, including myself before, would just go to museums and have the intention of seeing everything and just kind of rushing through. I feel like art now, I really have to take the time and just appreciate it and kind of stare at it, feel what the art is trying to, you know, make you feel. One of my favorite rooms had a huge canvas draped over the top of this skylight, and it had all these squiggly people and it was full of life, and we actually just sat down in these nice beanbag chairs that they had laid out, and we're there for about a half an hour. It really was amazing, and that's what I'll remember whenever I think about that museum.
Museum was dope, great experience.
I was starting to not be myself, so I needed to come out here and have a sandwich. And
John, how was it?
It was really cool, really cool. A couple exhibits that really spoke to me. Got to read more about them. Not going to forget them anytime soon.
After that, we actually had a nice picnic in the park. We had some baguettes, some cheese, some fruit, and we just sat down and really looked around and enjoyed these super nice buildings and a nice little sunset that was going. It was just a really great way to end that day. Another really cool thing we found was a World War II museum. It wasn't anything super special, but I just found it super interesting because the statue would have these flashing lights and this really eerie sound. I don't know, there's something about it that I just enjoyed a lot.
drone, you're not gonna like pick up on that camera.
Amsterdam is known for its cheese. This was not something I knew before, but you should definitely take the time and hit up all of these touristy cheese stops where you can get these free cheese samples.
Cheese, so freaking good. Phenomenal cheese. Didn't know that about Amsterdam.
I definitely recommend you go grab a baguette, some cheese, and just sit down somewhere in a park and enjoy it. It really is delicious.
That's my soup.
I'll tell you what's up. We're actually in Amsterdam for Halloween. However, I have to admit I was pretty disappointed. I'm an American and we do it pretty big in America for Halloween. When I was one of 4 people I saw dressed up that night, it was kind of disappointing. However, we found a really small, intimate music venue. We ended the night very differently than I had expected, but still memorable and enjoyable nonetheless. And our last day, we did my personal favorite activity. We actually rented bikes. Now this gave you a very unique experience of the city, and it made it really feel like you were experiencing it as a local would. We rode all around town and it really was just a super enjoyable and amazing thing. I love riding my bike in Chicago, and this was the first time I was able to in Europe. We actually made our way to Amsterdam Forest, which was a massive park. Definitely something to check out, especially if you're riding your bikes. And after that, we tried some raw herring sandwiches. It sounds gross, but it's staple food in Amsterdam and something you definitely need to try.
Good. Like a fishy McDouble.
If you're going to Amsterdam, my #1 advice would be to stay out of the city center as much as possible. It also quickly became apparent that Amsterdam was a very Americanized city, probably the most out of all the ones I've been to. Everyone in the city speaks English, so if you're an English speaker, you won't have any problems in that way. Even some of the music and stuff, you just kind of notice there's a lot of trap and rap, a lot of American influence there. So I hope you guys enjoyed my trip to Amsterdam. There was definitely a ton packed into 5 days, but a lot of exploring and just walking around and seeing because it was such a big city. So make sure you wait until the end of the video to click for part 2 where we go to Geneva, Switzerland. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit the like button to help and support me. If you want to see more, make sure to hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with my latest videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
Bailey.